beginning Young Americans for Freedom. So I really feel comfortable here with you all. I guess you could say that I'm a cradle anti-communist. My father was a reporter for the Chicago Tribune here in Washington, D.C. And he covered all of the great hearings and trials and discussions of communism starting in the 1930s, the late 1930s into the 1940s and 50s. So I grew up in this atmosphere where communism was not just something overseas, but was something here at home. Through my father, I met some of the great anti-communists of this period. Richard Nixon, who, whatever he may have done later, Watergate, was one of the great anti-communists of this period, and was involved with a very famous trial, the Alger Hiss trial. How many of you all have heard of Alger Hiss? Well, my father happened to be there when Whittaker Chambers, the Time magazine gentleman, confronted Alger Hiss in an open congressional hearing and said, Alger, you and I were both members of the Soviet spy ring here in Washington, D.C. So I grew up with that. A little bit later, when a rather controversial senator named Joseph McCarthy from Wisconsin began saying that there were active communists and were even loyalty risks and security risks in our government. And through my father, I met Joe McCarthy. Joe was not the most careful and prudent of politicians, but he was right about one thing. There were communists in our government at the highest possible levels, as seen by Alger Hiss' presence and others as well. And so I met both former communists when I was a young man, teenager like you all, and also I met anti-communists like Richard Nixon and Joe McCarthy. And all of this climate in which I grew prepared me for the defining moment in my life. And that was 1956, October, and the Hungarian Revolution. I was studying in Paris, sort of. Right. Spending probably a little more time at the Dome and the Select than I was at the Sorbonne on the left bank. And then the radio reports began coming in from Budapest. Soviets get out. And young men and women like you all in their early 20s, students, said it's time to get the Soviets and the tanks out of Budapest and out of Hungary. And they did. And they did withdraw. And for about 2 weeks, there was freedom and liberty in Hungary. And I was there on the left bank, and I was just reveling in it. I was just so excited. This is great. Freedom is coming to Hungary. The Soviets are being kicked out. Who knows what else is going to happen in Eastern and Central Europe? Maybe this will spread so that other countries will be freed of the Soviet yoke and the Soviet army, which is enforcing communism. And then, tragically, after 2 weeks, the Soviet tanks came back. And they rolled over the freedom fighters of Hungary, killing some 20,000 of them, and forcing some 100 or 200,000 Hungarians to flee the country. Many of whom came to this country and made multiple contributions. And I kept waiting for my government to do something. I kept waiting for some reaction from the White House. Nada. Nothing. Very weak statement by the president, a meaningless resolution by the United Nations condemning the Soviet action. And I said, well, I'm going to promise myself one thing. I'm going to make a pledge that whatever I can do for the rest of my life to support those who are opposing tyranny, I will help them. These freedom fighters, wherever they are. And that was in the 1950s, and some almost 40 years later, we determined that the way to do that was to start the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation. Thank you. And I'm so encouraged to look out and see so many young people here this morning who are interested in learning more about what the truth is about communism. And the fact that people say, oh, well, Marxism has never failed because it's never been tried. That is absolute nonsense. It has been tried and it has failed again and again and again because Marxism, communism, what is, I'll give you a brief definition. It's a pseudo-religion posing as a pseudo-science enforced by a totalitarian regime. That's what communism is. It's what it is in China, and that's what it is in Cuba. Whatever those surface similarities economically to what we enjoy here, politically, it is a tyranny. So here we are, determined to keep telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing truth about communism. We could ask if there are any questions which you have, we'll take those up in the Q&A. But now I want to turn it back to Marion and let him introduce our very, very special guest here this morning. Thank you all so much.
So I met Anastasia about a year and a half ago in Dharamsala, India, where we had gathered to meet the Tibetan government in exile. And we had organized a small conference with some of our Chinese-American friends and partners there in India, Tibetan, Free Tibet organizations, etc. And the Chinese government had thrown a fit and harassed and intimidated the Indian government and successfully, it seems, gotten a few of the visas revoked for attendees supposed to come to our conference, especially Chinese origin exiles in Europe, including Dolken Isa, who some of you may have heard about here in Washington about 2 years ago. But so I met her there, and they had successfully gotten the press banned from our conference. So it became clear, the day I met Anastasia, and she was one of those, but certainly she was a very sensitive person, and you'll find out why in a minute. But it was very clear from the day I met her that the Communist Party of China really does not like Anastasia Lin. And some of you may have known that in 2015 she became Miss World Canada and would have competed in the international competition in China, which was held in China in 2015. And she was denied entry to compete. She was born in China. You'll find out more about her story in a video that we've done to tell her story. The most recent in our Witness series of films, in which we try to present life under a communist regime, the stories of those people who live or did live a life very different than what many of us experience here in the United States, with the freedoms and rule of law, et cetera, that many of us take for granted. So with that, we're going to watch a short film, and then Anastasia is going to talk with us. Go ahead. Yeah. We will need sound.
Yes. Working on that.
Is that a 5-second problem? All right, so with that, I'm going to let Anastasia. Is it working or not?
No.
See, we always blame these things now on, nothing being on.
You can see what the Chinese are doing. They're absolutely trying
Now, if you think we're joking, we're really not. Last June 3rd, we organized a teleconference with some friends to talk about the history of the Tiananmen Square protests and massacres in 1989. And we held it at the Pew Charitable Trust, which were next door, they're obviously next door to the FBI building here in Washington. And they were able to shut our internet down. They knocked out our websites, and it was a very, very extensive and vigorous cyber attack that we experienced. And the FBI has been working with us over the last year and a half, but we've had to implement, Pentagon level cybersecurity stuff just to keep our websites up and our, communications safe. Little organization like us, So we basically are a sort of state target for China and one or two others. Partly because we want to give voices like Anastasia, who can speak the truth in a very intimate and knowledgeable way about these regimes here in the United States. And it's the truth that counters very effectively the propaganda that these countries spend billions of dollars on. So with that, audio.
I had to learn from Western media what happened to those courageous Chinese people who were killed that day, June 4th, 1989. That really shocked me. It has never existed in our generation, this memory. I had a shift in my worldview and had the courage to doubt what I have been learning my entire life. It's a profound embarrassment to learn that your entire belief system is based on a huge lie. My name is Anastasia Lin. My Chinese name is Lin Yefan. I am a working actress, and I am Miss World Canada 2015 and 16. I entered the beauty pageant because I wanted to speak up for those people.
Anastasia Lin is an advocate for human rights in China.
Anastasia Lin.
Lin is an outspoken critic of China's human rights record.
I feel like I'm just putting one foot in front of another. I never look at myself like a human rights activist. Chinese people and Western people live in two different worlds. I consider myself to be Canadian, and also I grew up in a Chinese environment. Chinese people consider I'm Chinese. I'm stuck in the middle. There's a lot of things in my childhood that I still cannot really understand. We were taught songs and lyrics about how the Communist Party is closer to you than your own mother. The Communist Party is always glorious. It's just great. Always believe the party is good for educate ourselves. Nouns are enemies. You should always strive for being aligned. I was selected as a student leader, and I taught to discourage their private personalities to make their whole being assimilate to the communist ideology. I became an agent for the state to persecute my fellow Chinese. Report to teacher whoever is not in line. And I didn't know better. I wouldn't have done that if I know the truth. And they're still doing it today. My mother wanted to bring me out of China because of that. Because she thinks that that environment cannot be healthy for a child. And she wanted me to grow up in a society that has dignity and be free to be who I am. My parents got divorced and my mom brought me to Canada. The change that I experienced didn't happen overnight. It happened over a course of quite a few years. A lifetime of indoctrination is not easy to shed.
So I personally want to thank Anastasia for being a courageous voice of truth, and I know that it's not been easy. And I don't know exactly what she's going to talk to you about, but I know that she will mention a little bit about the new human rights atrocity that we are learning about in China, and that's forced organ harvesting on political and religious prisoners in China. And this is an issue that she has taken up and has done a tremendous amount to make it an issue that lots of people know about. And I can't think of a single person who's done more on that particular issue to raise awareness. So Anastasia, thank you. And keep up the good work, and let us know what's happened in the last 2 months since you actually were able to compete here in December, a few months ago. And you did very well, but update us on what happened in December.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here today, and I'm so glad it's a great turnout today. I'm really glad that so many people are so interested in this topic, anti-communism or communism. I've had the privilege to live on both sides of the divide. First in Canada first in China for 13 years of my formative years. Yeah. Okay. And then I moved to Canada when I was 13 years old. So please listen when I tell you that these liberties that the West uphold and champions are precious, and it is our duty to defend them and safeguard them. I am not a human rights activist. I am an actress. I study theater acting in university. So I guess I never really looked at my acting like a form of human rights activism until my family got into trouble. When I was 18 years old, an independent director in Canada, in Toronto, was casting for a female Chinese actress who speaks fluent Chinese. And the role was a little girl who died in the Sichuan earthquake. Sichuan earthquake happened in 2008, and there are a lot of casualties. Mainly the victims are elementary school and high school students. They died because their school buildings were built with what we call tofu construction. That means the Chinese Communist Party officials have extracted so much money, and the quality of the buildings were really, it was really under quality. And as soon as the earthquake happened, the building collapsed. A lot of them didn't have chances to escape. So Ai Weiwei collected names of Sichuan earthquake victims, and he got in trouble for that. Now this independent director wanted to produce a TV series that had an episode talking about the Sichuan earthquake. And he tried to find Chinese actress. No one wanted to participate. Because for an artist, to join an independent film and talk about such a sensitive topic, it means losing the entire China mainland market. You don't get a visa to go to China to work. Pretty much blacklisted. And I was a theater student. I just started my theater school, and I needed credit. So I jumped on the opportunity. And then after that, a lot of independent producers sort of just came to me, and I realized all of them had problems casting female actresses that are from China who are willing to act in these sensitive roles. So at one point, I thought I had a monopoly of these roles, human rights victims. But I was very fortunate because in the process of producing these films, I had to talk to real human rights victims. These people who have been stripped of all avenue of recourse within their own borders. The Uyghur people, the Falun Gong practitioners, the Tibetans, and the house Christians. These people don't appear on Chinese media a lot because all the media outlets are state-run. And if they do, it's usually a piece by the China Daily condemning the anti-China separatist force. Essentially, all domestic problems are blamed on the anti-China black hand of the Western enemy. And I listened to their story And I realized that what the communist is scared of is not military, it's not really military, it's not really any other things but ideological challenge. Because they all got persecuted for one reason, is that they are able to think independently for themselves. But a lot of them, even when they're in the West, they don't have a voice. Oftentimes they go to Chinatown, hand out flyers. Probably, if you have gone to Chinatown, you'll see some Falun Gong practitioners handing out flyers, collecting a petition for their family members who are still in China, have been wrongfully imprisoned. But people pass by in haste, and they don't really listen to them. And they're kind of hard noticed to Chinese elderly ladies. So I thought, people listen to beautiful women in ball gowns. I learned that from Miss World Canada 2003, Anastasia Lin. She was in Vancouver talking about the forced organ harvesting when the news first broke into the international community in 2006. And I went up to her, she looked like an angel. I was so stunned by everything that she was doing, and people were really listening to her carefully. And afterwards she told me, if you want to talk about some things you care about, running from this world is a great idea, because their motto is beauty with a purpose. And so I believed in that until about 2 months ago. So I joined this world competition. The first year they still had a swimsuit, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it because I was acting in so many human rights victim films, and a lot of them have been through sexual assault. I remember a decade ago, there were 18 Falun Gong practitioners, female, having stripped all their clothes and thrown into male jail in Masanjia labor camp in China. And a lot of them had went mentally distorted after. And one of them courageously testified in CECC just a few months ago. I think you might still be able to find the testimony online. And so I thought, if I expose myself in that light, that might not be a really good idea. So I withdrew from the swimsuit competition. I got second runner-up. And the next year, when I tried again, they canceled the whole swimsuit competition, so I won the crown. And after that, the Miss World competition was hosted in China. Of course, I was honorably being declared persona non grata by the Chinese government. And my families in China were threatened. A couple weeks ago, my grandparents and I and my mother planned a meeting in Hong Kong, because I cannot go to China. We wanted to spend Chinese New Year together. And my mother told me one day, it's better you don't go. And I didn't know the reason why, until my grandmother told me on the phone that last week the police came to our house and seized our Hong Kong visa. We didn't tell anyone about it. Of course they were listening on their phone. And then my grandfather told me this. His health condition is declining by the day. He said that, I promise you that I will not go anywhere until I see you again. At that moment I realized that we won. Because the love between family members, the love and care that we have for each other, is something that the Communist Party can never take away. Communism is a thing that will come and go, but human nature will defeat that. We are resilient enough, but we have to also be aware. In the West these days, I know that communism isn't the most immediate threat. And a lot of young people think that communism is cool. They will wear the communist logo, or even Mao's image. But when I see that, I really want to tell them that that person you have on your shirt is the person that indoctrinated my father's generation, left deep scars in their hearts. Till this day, my father is still not daring to say that he is proud of his daughter. Every time getting on the phone, he would tell me, please listen to your motherland, please be loyal to your Communist Party, which is your mother, because you grew up here and this is your root. it's really sad to see my father being scared like that. And that's why I really admire everything that the OC is doing. It's to raise awareness within young Americans, to know that this communism ideology, it has destroyed generations, families, lives, has killed most amount of people like in human history. And it has caused my family a lot of pain. And I wish I can tell you better how much these liberties are so important that we really need to safeguard them. I'd be happy to answer your questions. Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity.
So, for topics like this, you really just need to say the word communism and then take questions. So I'm sure you have questions and comments for either Lee Edwards or Anastasia Lin. Please keep it short, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. And if you want to direct it to one or the other, feel free. So, any hands? Yes.
I have from Albania, actually, former communist country. Quite familiar with communism. But my question is, in the US, out of all the evils we report, starting from racism, homophobia, xenophobia, all of those are people of dignity. Communism doesn't seem to take any place there, though it's an ideology that is responsible for the greatest amount of death in the world, starvation, destruction. You're thinking, why do you think that is in the US? Like, so you can call someone a racist and you can literally destroy their career. If you call someone a communist, they might be promoted sometimes. Why do you think that is the case in the US? Do you think it is because the US has been directly affected by communism as much as other countries? Or is there some other reason?
Yeah, good question. Any takers? Well, I mean, it's pretty clear that there's been a failure of education. We released a poll in October that showed, the majority of American millennials couldn't get within several, tens of millions in terms of the numbers of people killed by communist regimes. Some 40% thought that George W. Bush killed more people than Stalin. And then beyond that, you have, of course, the majority of American millennials think, that our economic system works against them rather than for them. And have a more favorable understanding of socialism than capitalism. So add that with 21% of high school students would vote for a communist for president. So I mean, these are somewhat unprecedented statistics for the United States, because we have been a country that never really fell for these kinds of ideas. And there's a double standard. The crimes of the Holocaust and Nazism are well known. You don't want to go in an anti-Semitic direction, because that could lead to bad consequences, right? We've seen that play out before. We've learned from that history, and we should. But also, the crimes of communism, the consequences of the failed economic ideology, a failed theory of justice, has led every time, as has been said, to horrible consequences. So it's a failure of education. And people need to understand, if you care about women's rights, then you should certainly care about forced abortion happening in China. If you care about gay rights, if you care about equal equality for people of all races, right? How can you hold up Che Guevara as a hero? He killed people because they were black in Cuba during the revolution. He killed people because they were gay in the revolution, right? So it's the most absurd thing ever that these people espousing these rights inside the United States would be criticizing the United States and lionizing and making heroes out of communist leaders of the past. It's really absurd. Yeah. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Orton Yi. I'm the Brooklyn Libertarian Party, www.brooklynlp.org. By the way, VOC also stands for volatile.
Organic compound.
Yes.
Ideology is what drives communism. And there is another pseudoscience, as we would call it, that is
An authoritarian economic, political, and social system. This group is responsible for a Holocaust that's largely unknown in history. From the year 1000 to 1525, it slaughtered 80 million Hindus. Okay? Can anyone know who this group is? Anyone guess who this group is? Ideology is what drives this group, by the way. It's still around, by the way.
Which group?
yes. Anyone know what group it is?
I couldn't hear everything you said. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I said that ideology drives this group. It's also a pseudoscience. It's
This group. What is this?
well, I'm asking you if you know
Yeah,
what this group is.
No, I don't.
You don't, anybody? Muslims. The ideology is Islam.
Okay. There may be another session on that. For
Okay.
this session, we're going to keep it
But
focused
my point is,
on
ideology
Yes.
is what you.
ideas have consequences.
That's kind of
Agreed. Agreed. Other questions? In the very back.
Hi, my name is Lucas Ribeiro. I'm from Brazil. I can share this conference at the end here. I want to make a short introduction and then ask you. I think sometimes people think that they fight against communism with like army with economic stuff and all this stuff, no? But I think the culture battle is much more important. For example, in Brazil, no all universities like you have this pride of Marxism is like hegemonic, no? We just see this all the time. And for example, in Brazil, they state, they put, for example, movies that talk good about Lula or a former guerrilla Marxist, this kind of thing. Okay. And I want to ask you, how do you think we can improve our battle in the cultural way, not just about economic stuff?
Good question. He's basically saying that Marxism is not just an argument about economics, it's really a cultural and perhaps a moral conversation. So how can we convince people that communism is immoral and culturally dangerous? Lee.
Well, I think that what you must, hello,
Yes.
what you must do is to tell the truth about it. And you must, for example, produce films to talk about it that way. You must do witness videos. You must have speakers on college campuses. You must provide information to college newspapers. I'm talking particularly about going to young people. And I think that's so very, very important because it's just wonderful to have you here this morning, but what happens? We're talking to high school teachers, and they have not the slightest idea of what communism is all about. So you must educate teachers, not just students. You must reach out, tell the truth, and nothing but the truth about communism. And when we do that, and when you do that, I think you'll be surprised at the positive response. And people will say, I didn't know that. Please tell me more and I will help spread the truth about communism.
I think we can look at what communism is doing in China and see, perhaps we can see their motivations. In 2016, the Chinese government banned the talking of any discussion of Western value and human rights from their curriculum in their classrooms. So basically discussion of rule of law and democracy is also not allowed. But in the West, what we're experiencing is having all these Confucius Institute going into universities, opposing as non-profit Chinese language program, but the Chinese government, they control the curriculum, they control the staff, they can discriminate whoever they want. In their contract, it says if you practice following, you cannot teach in these institutions. This is in the West, in the United States, in Canada. And And these teachers were told any discussion about the sensitive topics such as Falun Gong, Taiwan, Tibetan, and Uyghur should be, teachers should only state official talking points. And if the students keep asking these questions, they should give like the politically correct answers. And a Chinese senior official said that these Confucius Institutes are a major effort, a major part of the overseas propaganda effort by the Chinese Communist Party. But they're embedded in hundreds of universities worldwide and raising troubling questions around like academic liberty and also academic integrity. And our film industry, everyone have probably heard from the news that Chinese companies are buying out Hollywood studios. ANC is owned by Chinese now, that's 20% of American theater market. That means they will get to control what kind of film is made and what we can see in America here. It's increasingly unlikely that we're going to see a film that's about Tiananmen Massacre, Cultural Revolution, or the oppression of Tibetans and Falun Gong. These are real threats, but I guess people don't realize it because it's not really on the news all the time. It's kind of hard to be alert to a regime that's overseen.
Yeah.
Let me just give a quick fact, if I may, about Cuba. Since we established diplomatic relations with Cuba, there have been more dissidents placed under house arrest and put into jail than before. Last year, something like 8,000, I believe it was, something like that. How many dissidents were put under house arrest and arrested in Cuba?
More than 8,000.
More than 8,000. This is the fact. This is the truth about what's happening in Cuba. So, let's not be misled by talk just about economic relations between nations. Let's keep talking about human rights. Let's keep talking about the ability of a free press, free speech, being able to practice your faith, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think it's a really important question, and Anastasia mentioned the Confucius Institutes, and Lee mentioned a disconnect, I think, for most of us in realizing that there's been an uptick in political violence in Cuba in the last 2 years, not an improvement of the situation. And that is because, Cuba and China especially, but also Russia and a few other states, they spend a lot of money and a lot of effort trying to influence American culture. And we have a weak spot because we're a free society. And a lot of times we're not even aware that this is happening. We don't know really how these regimes work. But these Confucius Institutes, there are hundreds of them inside the United States on college campuses, but there are also student groups, Chinese student groups, cultural groups that are not formally affiliated with Confucius Institutes that do activism. The most recent example is this week, what university?
UCSD.
Yeah, UCSD in California. They had invited the Dalai Lama to speak later this year, and the student group there, which is directed by the embassy, by the Chinese consulate, released a statement saying that they didn't want to have the Dalai Lama speak there because of their cultural values and cultural sensitivity and whatever else. We've seen this work before with universities disinviting, rescinding invitations to the Dalai Lama and other people being too sensitive for the Chinese groups there. And then, the movies, the cinemas, the production companies that are being bought up by Chinese-owned firms, which are, meaning they're directed by the Communist Party, right? There's no such thing as property rights in China the way we understand it. If you're wealthy and you want to keep your wealth, you will do, what is in line with the party's interest, especially if you're operating overseas. So how many of you saw the remake of the movie Red Dawn? Anybody? The most recent one, like 2 years ago. Now, did it strike anybody as odd that North Korea could technically pull off an invasion like that? Did that strike anybody as odd? No. Well, the original screenplay for that called for Chinese troops. And they received pressure, and they changed it. All they had to change was the insignia, right, and language and, a few words in the script. But they changed it to North Korea. So that is just one example of a very direct, provable example of how Chinese money in our entertainment industry is changing the way we portray our movies, right? That should concern all of us. So we are organizing, events on college campuses, partnering with student groups similar to Students for Liberty. So if you want to work with us to bring, speakers like Anastasia Lin to your campus, we're very happy to work with you to do that. It is true that these efforts of propaganda need, accountability. So I think there's a hand here. Yeah.
Yep. Jake Jones with the International Republican Institute. For the last 16 years, I've lived in what's called the former Soviet Union. You mentioned the Confucius Institutes, the examples from the university, as well as the examples from Russia with like the Ruski Mir project or Russia Today. In some ways, these are modeled on the old Radio Free Europe idea of communication and telling the real story, using some of the Western ideas against them in some ways. What do you see as the next step in communication and education then, if propaganda for communism is using older Western models of freedom fighting or even Western models of kind of the politically correct culture on campuses? What then is the response from this side? What is the next step up?
Or I'll give a quick response and then they can jump in. I would say they're ahead of us. I would say China, certainly, but even Cuba, I think they're ahead of us in the weaponizing of information in the West, which at the very least sort of creates a muddy environment where we don't know exactly what is true. In my opinion, the United States government, from the president on down, and it's been happening for many years, when someone like Vladimir Putin says that the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which was a pact between non-aggression pact between Hitler and Stalin in 1939, that paved the way for Hitler to invade Poland 2 weeks later. When Vladimir Putin claims that that was a good thing and was contributing to stability in Europe, that has got to be countered, right? Because Vladimir Putin is trying to take credit for the Soviets ending World War II. Well, let's remember that the Soviets helped start World War II, right? When you claim that Holodomor didn't happen, which was the forced famine targeting Ukrainians to be killed by the millions when food was growing on their farms, and it was called death by hunger, and some of that grain was being shipped out of Russia into the West. It was a deliberate policy. When you have a current government, which is one of the world's most powerful, saying that didn't happen, and that any information that exists about it is a CIA hoax, this has got to be countered. It's got to be countered. Crimea is undergoing a second occupation right now, right? And we don't know exactly what's happening there because you can't go. There's no independent journalists that are covering the story. These things are examples of how whitewashing of history, misinterpretation of facts of the past, lead to an environment where very dangerous things can happen geopolitically, in the case of Russia, or culturally, in the case of inside the United States, and our shifting understanding of the history of communism and the business of collectivism.
Marion, let me just add one thing. We're talking about what can we do. You, all of you, have in your hand a means of telling the truth, means of countering propaganda. This. I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you all to share with your friends through Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of these things that I don't even know the words for, right? But this is it. The power is here. You have the power in your hands. And we would be, I know, we'd be happy to share with you some of these facts and figures which you can send out to everyone across the country and across the world.
One last quick question. Yeah.
Hello.
Okay, quick.
Yeah, my name is Gabriel. I'm from Brazil. My question goes to Anastasia Lin about how hard it is to educate people on the Western world about communism since they haven't lived it. In my university, we have this nice, beautiful, shiny Karl Marxist flag in honor of his ideas, and then our group organized around it and brought a Hayek flag, who was a philosopher and thinker for liberty, and also an economist. So since we have so many people worshiping Karl Marx's ideas, Stalin's Mao, and they haven't lived their ideas in their life, and you have, and so many other millions of people have, and have suffered that, what do you tell those young voices and young people who worship those ideas and who have not lived it?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question. Because I'm from Canada. I'm from Canada. So we have a prime minister right now who's advocating for communism a little bit. I remember a few weeks ago he said that Castro's great, and some comments like that. It is the evil that communists can do. Sometimes it would be out of our moral imagination. It is quite important that we, as everyone, individually, expose these evil deeds. For example, organ harvesting, what I've learned. Chinese state-sanctioned taking out organs from prisoners of conscience. These are innocent Chinese people who have done nothing wrong, but to speak their mind and stay true to their belief, and their organs taken out and sold for profit. If you go to China now, if you want a liver, they can get it for you within 15 days. And you can schedule your surgery in the morning or in the afternoon. That means they can know when these donors are going to die. These are crime against humanity. I guess for the West, it is very hard to sympathize if you have not lived the pain. For me, I went out to talk to people on the street. I talked to fundamental practitioners. I taught leader kids piano, and I talked to a lot of Christians. To sympathize with them and to tell their stories through your own way. My activism is acting. But I guess with your knowledge and your experience, you can find different ways to advocate for this cause. Thank you.
Thank Anastasia and Lee. Follow Anastasia Lin on social media. Follow Victims of Communism on social media, and pick up your T-shirt on your way out.